Hi, everybody. So this is my little corner, my Game of Thrones recap.
Nobody puts me in a corner.
Well, sometimes. But that's okay. I sometimes like a corner. I can think better. Episode 5 of Game of Thrones, The Bells. Lots and lots of controversy here. This was the battle to end all battles. It was the battle for the Iron Throne. It was Daenerys and her troops against Cersei, and I know what we all wanted to see was Cersei set on fire in the Red Keep, but we had some surprises. Although I went back and watched the first 15 minutes of the show, and if you watch those first 15 minutes, there are so many clues to tell you how it would end.
Did I not predict it?
I don't remember.
I
don't even watch it.
I don't watch the show, but I made a fearless prediction that in the end they're going to kill almost everybody.
Well, I mean,
I got it.
There's a lot of people still alive, just not in Castle
King's Landing.
King's Landing. Thank you.
See.
So of course this was the final battle, but the lead up to the battle, Daenerys had lost everything. Basically, except for her one child, Drogon, her favorite dragon, I believe. Jon betrayed her by telling the secret that he was in fact the Targaryen heir and the possibly true heir to the throne.
But does that mean that he was going to now not let Daenerys be the queen?
No, he never wanted to be king. Jon is not power hungry. Jon is really not that strong. Jon is a very good man. Good men don't last very long in the era of Game of Thrones. He always wanted Daenerys to be his queen. They were lovers. She loved him. That sort of changed her world. She begged him when he told her the truth not to tell anybody. And of course, he told his sister told Tyrion.
Such gossip.
On and on and on and on until everybody knew. And she knew that as soon as everybody knew that there was a male heir, and that it was Jon Snow, who she said to him, "You are loved far more in Westeros than I am. I am only feared." And that also was a clue. She lost Missandra, her beloved friend and advisor. She lost 2 of her 3 dragons, and Jon's ultimate betrayal. Tyrion, it turned out to be, was like the worst hand in history. Varys betrayed her also. They wanted Jon to be the true king. She had him incinerated. Dracarys, bong.
I know you want to have a dragon that you can tell to incinerate anybody.
Yeah, I know exactly who it would be too, but let's not say that. I don't want to go to jail. So all along the way, we've seen that Daenerys can be brutal when she has to be. And I wrote down some lines because they were absolute clues to how this episode would end. First of all, she had been in seclusion. She had been thinking things over. The final meeting with Jon, where he couldn't be intimate with her because of the fact that she was his aunt, she says to him, "Very well, then let it be fear." And at one point, Tyrion talked about some of the betrayals that happened, and he said, "It doesn't matter now." And she said, "It doesn't matter now." The way she said those words showed that she had a mindset of putting everything that she sort of believed in, it had a shift. It just was sort of so obvious when you listen to it again.
So in other words, you're saying she didn't, like some people thought, that she just snapped, she became mad like her father.
No.
This was a strategically planned move.
Yes, she hadn't made her final decision, but everything was leading up to the fact that she knew that the only way that she could hold on to power, this is, you know, we may think that this is a fantasy because it has dragons and the three-eyed raven and the walkers and a witch, but it's not. It's really about war and power and survival. And that was, to me, what was best about this show, except for the dragons, is that it was really about life. And it's a very much an anti-war series. War is hell, but war is sometimes necessary. And this was a war that was going to happen. Nobody could ever believe that Cersei was going to win this war. It was how it was won that the question always was. And because Cersei had brought in all the peasants and all the people and brought them into the town near the Red Keep. Yes, exactly. And what Daenerys said to Tyrion when he kept on saying, but so many innocents will die. Thousands of innocent children will die. You don't need to do this. You will still be queen. She says, your sister knows how to use her enemies as weakness against them. That's what she thinks our weakness is. Mercy is weakness.
It's very relevant to today's world.
Absolutely. She says, but she's wrong. Our mercy, our strength, our mercy towards future generations who never again will be held hostage by a tyrant. She said, the next time you face me will be the last time. Oh, no, the next time you fail me will be the last time you fail me. And Tyrion had always been someone she...
So you think, because I know that for a lot of people, what was so upsetting about this episode is that Daenerys seemed to make a move that was uncharacteristic of her.
Yes, but it was either uncharacteristic because she had tried all the breaker of change, the breaker of wheels. She had freed the slaves. She wanted to be a good queen. She wanted to be a queen of mercy. But what she learned from all of her betrayals, and what she learned also in warfare, because the way she used Drogon was so brilliant. And also she learned from Olenna, who told her you must be a dragon to survive. She learned from Cersei, who had no mercy for anyone ever and remained queen.
But do you think, because what you just read to me, that quote, makes me think, again, not that she snapped or that she realized that she needed to be a different kind of queen, but that she thought that the goal justified the means and that she needed to do this in order to start a new, like when she will be queen, she will be a different kind of queen, but in order to
get there, she has to do something that's actually against her nature. I don't think that in any way, shape, or form she became the Mad Queen. And also, the reason it's called the Bells is because Tyrion was trying to sneak Jaime in because Cersei was pregnant with his child. He had a way for them to get out through the tunnels and escape. And once that happened, he knew that everybody would lay down their swords and they would surrender to her. And he told her, if you hear the bells ring, you've won. Mm-hmm. That's it. They surrendered. Well, they didn't get out. They died in the wreckage after Daenerys had decided to destroy the town. But first, she sat on a hillside on her dragon and watched what was... Oh, no, let me go back. First, as you know, she destroyed Euron's navy. And Euron is who killed her last dragon, who was too weak to fight back. So what Daenerys did was come at Euron's fleet with the sun in their eyes. So they couldn't use the dragon slayers. They couldn't use the scorpion that they had all been outfitted with that killed her dragon. They were blinded by the sun, and she was able to destroy them. Although, unfortunately, Euron did escape to die. Not, to me, a very satisfactory death at the end. Still sort of had a smile on his face. I wanted him to be incinerated. But, and then when she attacked the city, that was all the battlements were lined with the scorpions, with the dragon killers, she came at them from behind. And they didn't have enough time to turn them around. So that's it. She got rid of all of the weapons that could have killed Drogon. He was absolutely protected. There was nothing that could be done. So she went back on the hill, let the battle continue, and actually there was a surrender. Too many people were being killed. The gold army, that the mercenaries that Cersei purchased from the bank, the Golden Bank, when Jon came up to them and said, look, if we kill the queen, you'll be free. There's nothing to worry about. I think, why fight us? We're going to kill you. Lay down your swords. And they did. And as soon as that happened, and they knew that the queen was vulnerable, they rang the bells. And you see Daenerys sitting on a hill, on her dragon. You see her stop. You see her think. And then she takes off. And what you think might be going to happen, because it's actually a straight shot, is Cersei across the city at the top of the Red Keep, still making excuses about how they still might win and how this might happen. You saw her weakening, which was wonderful. And you thought she would just go and burn her. But there was a little bit too much time left, and there was much more to say. No, what Daenerys did was destroy the city. She burned innocents. There were images that looked very much like those of Hiroshima, of bodies burnt to a crisp. We followed a story of a mother and her child who we hoped would get away to the end, with Arya even helping them at the end. Nope, they were destroyed. She laid waste to King's Landing. And for those who want a fairy tale ending of a show that was not a fairy tale, this was very disturbing. But for those of us who understood Daenerys and realized that power is often violence, and if you are going to be queen, you have to make people fear you. These are brutal times. These are times of constant war, constant jockeying to be the sit on the Iron Throne, and they're even destroying King's Landing. She had plenty of other subjects left around the kingdom.
Do you find this to be a move that is feminist or misogynist?
Well, I think that some people would see it as misogynist, and perhaps there was something interesting in this L.A. Times review of books that said that even if you worship, if you follow a queen, you are still manipulating this queen. It is still the patriarchy that is advising her and manipulating her
and it betrays her
and betraying her. And Daenerys had had enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
The one person who she trusted the most, Missandei, who was a woman, died, and all of her other advisors betrayed her, and she realized that it was only her.
Do you feel that there's also an element, because I don't watch the show, but to me the first thing that came to mind was they killed her dragon, who was her child.
Yes,
and this is the mother's fury
of her dragons.
Right, and this is a mother's fury that is unlike anything else.
Right, and that is part of it, and she lost Missandei, and she lost her lover. Because he was her nephew, and he chose, although he said, you are my queen, and she said, is that all I am to you? Mm-hmm. And he said, you are my queen.
But there is this theme of she lost her children.
Yes,
there was Cersei and her child, and then there was the mother and the child that we followed around that she incinerated.
Definitely.
So there was this theme going through.
Yes, motherhood went all through this, starting with Catelyn Stark. The motherhood was a very big theme all the way through this, including Jon Snow's mother, who it was thought to have been raped, and was not raped, was a child of love. And
the question is, though, we hear, in today's politics, when women go for politics, which, the equivalent, let's say, mm-hmm. and oftentimes we are upset when a woman, she kind of has no choice. If she wants to compete with the men, she oftentimes has to do things.
Yes, she has to sink to their level.
Right. But so do you feel that, though, in this case, that's what happened, or that it was like an empowering of she was willing to do what it took because
I felt that she would have preferred to have been a benevolent queen, and that she will still, in her way, if she's allowed,
there's still an
because
episode.
we have an episode, we know Arya's out for blood. Arya, the white horse, walks through the rubble of the city. Arya gets on it, and the last thing you see is Arya riding out, and she still has a green-eyed person
And I hope it's
she's
not going
supposed
to
to
be
kill.
it's not going to be Arya versus Daenerys
No,
in the end, because that would to me be the ultimate anti-feminist.
To me, if they see each other as almost equals, Arya is more accomplished as a fighter, as a thinker, as a strategizer than any man. This little tiny thing who has a needle for a sword. I would like for Daenerys to choose her to rule at her side.
Right.
Jon Snow is not
worthy. That would
worthy.
be the true feminist
Yes.
way to end
Jon
the show.
Snow is not worthy to rule at her side. He's a weak sister. He's beautiful, and I love him, and he's a kind, good man. This is not what wins the day as his father, as we saw from his father.
Well, but
and you
actually,
can't tread two worlds. That's the other thing we learned from Ned Stark. Is yes, he killed his enemies when he had to, but he tried to be kind when he could. And what happened? He lost his
But if
head.
she incinerated everybody to kind of start afresh, and if she wants to
and
be a
she
benevolent
wants them to be
ruler,
afraid of her.
That's
you. She doesn't want people to think of her as soft and weak. She says, then fear it will be. That's how I'll rule. I'll be the dragon. But it doesn't mean that she still can't rule with benevolence. All she ever wanted was to be loved and to be respected.
That old story.
Yeah. But
and that's showbiz, kid.
she's smart. And she learned every hardship she faced, she learned from. And what she finally learned was, you can't be soft. You can't be weak. But she still, which, as she said to Tyrion, I will destroy these innocents so that no other innocents will ever be the hostage of a tyrant. We'll start again. There were many, many people. There were still 6 kingdoms left, you know. So I don't find it to be out of character. I don't find it to be... At first I was kind of, oh no, Daenerys, how could you do such a thing? And then the more I thought about it, the more I realized it had to be. It had to be. It was her only choice. She was being betrayed at every turn. This was the only way she could get the respect that she had to have, and the respect was through fear. And maybe there wouldn't be many wars after this.
Well, we'll see what happens in the next episode. We might have to do this again for the next episode.
Well, I hope we have to do this
no,
again
I mean,
for
we'll
the
do
next
it.
episode.
We've been doing these on podcasts, by the way. If you don't know, go back to listen to our podcast. Mimi has been doing a corner at the end of every podcast, but we'll see how big the final episode is.
Feel free to disagree. Oh, and by the way, many people who we love died, and we knew they would. We knew that the Hound was going to die, but he at least died taking down the giant who had ruined his face. I think he was his brother. I'm not quite sure. I get very confused with all of the relations. I'm going to go back and watch it all from the beginning. I'm buying the box set as soon as it comes out. Jamie died. I loved Jamie. I'm sorry, but he still ended up, instead of staying in bliss in the north, being very happy with the big one.
Brienne.
With Brienne, who I loved Brienne's softness when she and Jamie when she fell in love with Jamie, when her love was requited. He had to go to be with Cersei because Cersei was his destiny and his love. So Jamie died. But Arya lived, Jon lived, many people who we care about lived, all the people who stayed in the north lived. We don't know yet if we're going to hear from Yara. And what her place will be. I want somewhat of a happy ending in that I want Daenerys to sit on that Iron Throne
with Arya.
With Arya at her side. Yes, that would be fine with me.
Arya could be the general of the military.
People will still die. I just hope it's not going to be the people I love most, which are Daenerys and Arya.
So people should tell us what you thought.
Yeah, I know a lot of you don't agree with me. I know people were pissed off royally. But I think, again, if you watch the first 15 minutes, and if you watch the end of last episode too, you saw this coming. She still gave it a thought. But she just really knew this was destroying the city was the only way to be queen.
All right. Thank you for joining us for another one of Mimi's Corners on Game of Thrones. Next week is the final episode, and we will give it whatever. we'll do either a vlog or a podcast, so stay tuned. And meantime, right?
I will be in black for mourning because it's going to be over.
You don't know. Oh, for being over, but we don't know if it's going to make you sad or happy.
We have no
satisfied.
idea what Benioff and Weiss are going to do because they have surprised us many, many, many times. This was a phenomenal episode, by the way. It was amazing as always.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you, or we'll talk to you next week after the finale.
And you don't have to bend the knee to me.
Thank you. I thought I would. I did when I proposed. No, I didn't.
No,
Bye.
you didn't. Bye.